All right, let's get this show on the road. So, today really is about sharing a little bit of my sales expertise to entrepreneur, new and old, because we can all use a little bit reminder of how sales is and where that comes into play. So let me give you guys a quick background here. I work for a company called Change Connect. Change Connect is a sales consultancy that helps small mid-sized business to improve their sales journey. So we specialize in sales transformation. And obviously, you know, recognized by the Toronto Board of Trade. We won an award there, won an award at Markham Board of Trade. So we've been around a while. Um, and we definitely have made. Thanks, Mark. So I definitely have, made sales and change management the core of our business. And from our expertise, right? And from our experience, I mean, if you think about it, it's change is not easy. And even with the best of time, change is not easy. Let alone now. And when you talk about having sales strategy, even the best of sales strategy fail if you can't implement it properly. So that have been the core of our business and our business model for the last 10 years or so now. So happy to share with you a little bit of my story. I started Change Connect 10 years ago, and I also now have a small app company as well that we're launching. So entrepreneurship definitely is no is not strange to me. I love it. I love every part of the journey. I love the ups and downs. But it is not until I recognize that a product doesn't sell itself that the business started to, you know, take off. And that's why today, when I was asked what do I really want to talk about today, and that was the one thing. No matter how brilliant your product is, how awesome you think is sell on the shelf, if you don't know how to sell it, if you don't know how to tell your story, that ultimately makes a difference between a company that has a good product but no sale, or for thriving in even today's environment. So, but I want to hear a little bit from you guys. What is it that you want to hear? Why you're in this particular session? Any particular questions you want me to answer and cover in our short little 15-20 minute chat today? Feel free to use the chat and let me know. Anything at all? Okay, so as you know what, as long as you guys can write in any particular request, definitely share in the chat, and I will try my best to answer them. Um, and I'm an open book when it comes to things like this, so do just make it a very interactive discussion. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, I'm looking at dashboards every day because I'm also the head of sales at Change Connect. So we're always looking we're always looking at dashboards and number. We're a very number driven organization. And as we go out and we work with organizations to increase their sales as well, you see that bottom line, we work with our numbers. Everything is metric based. Harold, I can't because then I can't see the chat room. So, everything is very metrics based in our world. So when we look at numbers and when we work with clients, you'll find that a lot of times we're transforming a small mid-sized business organization into one that is very number driven. And I'm not only talking about revenue number, we're always talking about leading and lagging indicator as a way to achieve our goal, means to the end. So when you measure if you measure your mean and you're doing the right means, the end will come, have always been our philosophy in terms of sales. But when we talk about entrepreneurship, you also don't want to be an entrepreneur that only look at dashboards, because that will not make you. I guess sometimes numbers, too many number, and being overly critical of the number also get in the way and impede in the way of your success. So when I look at entrepreneurship and what it meant to me when I was putting the deck together, an entrepreneur has to be a problem solver, a person that I be able to identify the needs in the marketplace. This person also has to be an innovator, a person who has the innovative idea to fill the void in the marketplace and be able to solve that problem. But when you think about it beyond the initial idea stage, then you get into the practicality of running a team. This person also has to be a good leader and a motivator because you know if you aren't able to do that, no one will stay in your team for very long. You need to set the bar high. You need to inspire to motivate your team to greatness, but at the same time, not sitting not just sitting at the top all the time. You also have to manage and execute and touch base regularly with your customer and employee and lead by example and really work as a cohesive team that allows your employee to understand it. And that's why my big underlining message here today is the idea of storytelling. How well can you tell your story? It's not about selling anymore. It isn't so much in sales about selling your product. It's really about underlining story, your underlying story. Are you passionate? Are you there to convince someone to come with you on your journey, whether that is a VC, whether that is an employee, whether that is a customer? Everything all comes down to you and your passion and how you deliver that message, and which is why sales is so important in today's world. But when it comes to various different characteristics of an entrepreneurship, I mean, I wrote down some, but um, from your point of view, what are some must-have characteristics of an entrepreneur? What makes you successful? Any thoughts? Okay, so so let me share. I definitely add more comments as you guys, if anything come to mind. Number one is risk tolerance. So, I mean, I think in the last 5 months, we all understand that entrepreneurship is not easy. It's not always rosy, and being comfortable in terms of encountering a certain level of risk and managing that, you have to be able to stomach that in order for you to be a successful entrepreneur. The the idea and the need to pivot, for example, I think you guys in the last 5 months, all of us have take that to heart and really practice what being entrepreneur is all about. Obviously, the second, along the same lines, about the idea of adaptability. So, entrepreneurship is an iterative process. Guys, you don't get it right the first time. You probably won't get it right the second time. It is idea of iterative incremental changes that allows an entrepreneur to thrive. So, just because you didn't get it right the first time, no one does. If you if you look at the likes of Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, they would help. They have plenty of story to tell you in terms of they didn't get here from day one. Same idea as you guys, right? I read some really good quote the other day on my LinkedIn feed about as an entrepreneur, you spend five months on this, 60 hours, 90 hours a week, and you expect to be a millionaire. You know, but if you sit at a 9 to 5 desk job, you you think nothing of it. So it isn't so much. There is definitely some adaptability component to being an entrepreneur. And last, of course, today's conversation is around sales and sales ability to unlock the support of your customer while fueling your own internal purpose and passion, right? You want to be able to convey your story in such a way that you move mountains, right? That's how you're able to like I said, be successful as an entrepreneur, at least in the beginning. It doesn't mean you have to be good in sales. It just means you have to take in some sales characteristics that make sense for you to lead as an entrepreneur. And here are a few of the takeaways, as I reflect back in terms of, well, what is transferable? What are must-have characteristics of a sales expert that an entrepreneur should consider, right? Um, the myth there is great idea alone will assure that business, your business success and your business will thrive. And we all know that that isn't the case, right? It isn't just about the product that makes your company work. So number one is focus on what your customer want to buy, not what you want to sell. Every conversation needs to be customer centric. You have to talk to your customer and put your customer's needs ahead of yours. If there isn't a deal there, then there isn't a deal there. Simple as that. Because a customer will trust you more, and you gain a follower and an advocate for life if you're able to make the right call that is not pushing a product on someone that doesn't need it. Advice number two is the first idea about where the pain points reside is nearly always wrong. So I was telling you earlier, we also have an app startup right now, and the first few use cases that we use to do up obviously our financial projections and where our use case of the app might be turned out to be, I don't want to say wrong, but we didn't hit the mark. That's not where we would make our money. And as we talk to the various stakeholders in our ecosystem, when we found out what their use case would be for this particular app, a whole new world opened up to us. Their pain point is different than the ones that we projected. And so it's interesting as don't my point there is don't be afraid of doing the legwork. Go out and talk to people. You cannot incubate by sitting in the office, right? You gotta have 2, 3, 4-way communication with your stakeholder group in order for you to really address the needs of the marketplace. Number three is your price and the value are not the same thing. A lot of times when we go into small mid-sized business to look at the pricing structure and maximizing their revenue in terms of their offering, a lot of times everyone, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of time people default back to the cost plus model. This is how much it costs us to to make this. This is how much how much margin I want to slap on this, and this is now the selling price of the product. But that's not how you should price your product. It really should be a value pricing model where you look at for what group are you doing what service to, and what are the alternatives there, and what are the substitutes that put yourself in a place that makes sense for you to be able to hit a higher margin. So definitely think about that. Number four is you and the customer have to be on the same side. So a lot of times you have, a zero sum, when talking about negotiation, it's a zero sum game. The way that people have structured the relationship of a salesperson and a customer is that someone will lose at the end of this deal, right? You want to come out the winner. And I think that mentality has got to change in that, if we're trying to solve a customer's problem, as we solve their problem in our creative way of solving the problem, we're actually playing on the same side. We are their helper. And that's where the consultative selling approach comes from. We are really trying to make it work so that they're in a better place at the end of this whole deal. And that has to be the focus of the conversation with them as you sell through the sales journey. Number five is you are not the servant to your customer. I have a lot of startups that we coach where they're slaving, literally they're slaving over the client. They do everything the client wants. But it's not the right move for them. Sometimes the cost of doing that piece of business is higher than actually the price point that you're selling it, because you don't want to lose any customer. And as you mature as a startup, you also find that you have a place in the marketplace that makes sense for you. And as we coach startups, when we find the maturity of the startup is when they start to say no. When they know when to say no, that's when you know that you're at a turning point in your business. Number six is you want to be proactively looking at problem rather than reactive. So you want to know how you address the market. You want to chase after the market a particular way rather than someone come to you and you be reactive to a deal. Because in any negotiation course, they'll tell you that doesn't put you in a good position in the dialogue. Number seven is to make the tough decision rather than no decision. entrepreneurs, it's easier to say. I always, especially today, we do a lot of this events, face-to-face events, and it's much easier for me to say, hey, just let's cancel that, right? Because canceling is an easier decision than to host an event, but with all the COVID measures in place. So same as number 7 here, it's much tougher to make the tough call than to make no decision. But as an entrepreneur, let's try not to do that. And because, even if you're inching forward, you're inching forward. If you're circling at your starting place, you're wasting valuable time, and that's something that you cannot buy. Last but not least, I'm going to leave you with telling isn't selling. As we coach sales reps, a lot of times they're like, "Oh, I told them that already." Well, you tell them that, and whether they listen isn't the same thing. So as you work your sales pipeline, you got to put advancement criteria in place in such a way that your rep has to gauge, or you have to gauge the reaction of the customer for you to, I always call it those buying signal, the buying signal that allows you to move forward. I mean, think back in your dating stage, right? You're not going to go kiss a girl and ask her to marry you on your first date. She haven't given you signals in order for you to do that. So you want to look for those signals and don't just tell somebody what to do. So I guess my last question, with a couple more minutes, is, what is the tip that resonated with you the most, and whether you have any questions for me. Any questions? All right. So thank you for joining me. I actually have a video that I can share with you guys to talk about how to make it easier for people to listen to you. If you can add your email to the session chat, then I will grab your email and send you this video as well, and then you will have my contact information from there. Okay, great. Any questions? I have a shy group today, but I do see some email coming through. Then I will email you, and then if you have any questions, which for sure we would be able to answer those offline. Okay, thank you everybody for joining today.